RHODESA, I got a question for you from earlier when you were explaining your breakout strategy.
Yeah.
How do you deal with 1 minute candles? This is from Gur Killer, by the way. Thank you. How do you deal with 1 minute candles that wick above the breakout zone? Would you have bought the breakout and then immediately stop out when it dips back into the range?
So fortunately for me, I don't have that many situations where it does that. Like on VIX though, like I wasn't trading SPY off of VIX. But VIX is a good example of that here on the 5 minute. I can share my screen once more, but
Yeah.
I do have to head out in about 10 minutes.
Yeah, no problem.
Um, so just a quick update on VIX though. If we are following what we said on the inverse chart or on the regular chart, VIX is still indeed in its downtrend. I think it could actually be breaking down further. So this is that double top level I had just mentioned. I think, like however many minutes ago, this was 20 minutes ago, it looks like. But we are still holding this 9 EMA. It seems to be a very respected spot. If you want to look at it in terms of no 9 EMA, we can flip to the same chart and just look at the pivot points. But we're indeed in a situation right now where it's more or less directional, right? We are in an uptrend, I believe, now. But current price is definitely kind of trying to decide what it wants to do. So just always understand where you are in terms of VIX. But in terms of that breakout, let's go back on VIX. Say this was just a regular chart. So I thought this was 100% going to break out. I didn't realize it was going to do that. Fortunately, I didn't take any shorts, just had whatever I have riding. But let's say this was a trade that you did take. I think Maple had actually spoken on a trade he took before this, and he butted in and was like, I got to get out, right? So in this case, you always have to ask yourself what the thesis was for the trade. So the thesis for this trade was a 5 minute breakout, arguably even like a 1 hour breakout off of this range it's been in, yeah? Um, so the thesis for this trade was to break this and go, right? And in this case, I'd say this candle you'd still want to be in, but in this candle you have to then ask yourself, is this thesis still valid? And then when you determine that, or when you're debating that, you have to really ask yourself, is it going to be better for me to hold in hope or to just exit safely with well-respected risk, or and then possibly reposition if it just decides to be a little bit iffy around this level, right? But always do try to protect your capital, and more importantly, know that you want to get out based off of a break of a thesis, right? And something you can also do here, if we go to the 1 minute chart at the breakout, so it was a 5 minute thesis, arguably even a 1 hour thesis, but you do want to look at the same things you typically want to look at in any breakout that you trade, and that's respect of the 9 and 20 EMA. I've noticed consistently, right, as we spoke on your stream 2 days ago, I highly recommend everyone go watch that.
Yeah.
A consistency in breakouts is that we have respect of these 9 and 20 EMA on the 1 minute time frame. Doesn't matter if it's a 1 minute breakout, doesn't matter if it's a 5 minute breakout. We consistently see that the good breakouts very much so respect this 920 EMA combo. And here you have complete disrespect of it. So I'd argue if you were to trade this, the thesis would not only be broken on the 1 minute and the 5 minute, right? Because this is a new candle where this happened. This is a 5 minute candle close, not even a 1 minute candle close. But I'd argue if you were to have entered, you'd still be in possibly until right here. But this is where you'd have to realize it's not really respecting anything anymore. But always, main moral of the story there, ask yourself if it's respecting a thesis. So we'll go look at VIX right now at a very similar spot. So let's.
Big drop.
I'm not going to take a trade. I'm done for the day. Got to head out soon.
Yep,
But
you're
let's look at this trade right here. So this is where the move is starting from. Always important. Three things can happen. We break out and go to this next level. We get a bunch of chop in here, and what it might do is actually start to respect trend structure. I'd argue it wouldn't want to respect trend structure because it hasn't. This is kind of where this trend structure stopped. We are still in an uptrend, higher lows. This is an ascending triangle, really. Right, if you want a series of higher lows built into this flat top. But we'd have to see right here, if we were to trade this breakout, what exactly is going on. So if you were to take out your breakout entries right now, we'll speak through this trade as it moves along. I obviously note right here that we are definitely seeing some upper price rejection, and we have 10 minutes until this candle closes. What we do have shortly below here, though, is our 920 EMA combo. But then I need to ask myself, so this is what, a 5-minute thesis, 1-minute thesis? Is this still going to be respected? I'd argue right now we're definitely in a concerned area, but I wouldn't necessarily think that the thesis is respected. I do want to note, though, that something that's retweeted on my page, and then you can also find it on Maple Stacks's page, because I was a comment that he made and I had commented under. Always ask yourself before you take a trade if a setup prior, right? So we've had a long day already, right? If there was a setup prior that you should have been in, and I didn't really care why you missed it, maybe you were at work or maybe you just missed it. If there was and I think we talked about this in your stream too, you always have to ask yourself, if I were to have been in that setup, which was my job to be in that setup because it aligned with my strategy, should you even be trading anything today, or should that trade have made you green on the day? Because I believe that, there are great later in the day runs, that's without a doubt, but I also think that your probability in this your probability of success sometimes decreases later in the day. It's just a lot of people made more money, and especially we have to think that today's Friday. But anyways, updating this, we are still together in this thesis. Yes, there was a little bit of wiggle room that needed to occur around this trade for it to work out successfully, but no trend was breached, right? Like, chill, we have to wait 120 seconds. Right now we're at almost 120 plus 30, which would be 150 seconds, right? Not that long, and no reason to really, get your panties in a wad. It's doing what it's supposed to be doing, and it's heading to the next lower high level. But nothing broke the thesis there, right?
Right.
But we were aware that if this entry were to have been taken, we needed to understand that, okay, we do have upper price rejection here, but no thesis was broken. So just do analyze price action step by step, but more importantly, analyze if the thesis was still valid or not.
So chat.
I'd argue, like, if we were to see, I mean, this could still very much be a failed break, right? Or it could go retest and then fail. But I'd argue that the thesis would still be valid if it were to have jumped in this 920 EMA combo. To get another look at that, I have like the cloud set up here, right? If it were to jump down in there, but it's just a matter of waiting now. It looks like we just got to push up into that level. So that's how you trade a breakout, essentially.